Hi guys, my name is Starly Gladue. I'm a makeup artist from Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory. I am Cree First Nations and I've been doing makeup for 13 years. And today I'm partnering with Skills Canada Alberta to bring you this Smokey Eye tutorial. So I hope you learned a lot today and stay tuned. So when it comes to smoky eyes, the number one key is blending. You want the eyeshadow to blend seamlessly and look easily diffused. You don't want any harsh lines or blotchiness. So the number one key to smoky eyes is the right tools and blending from light to dark. So today we are using the Jaclyn Hill's Divine Neutrals palette. I love this palette. It's good for every skin tone. It has both matte colors and a bunch of shimmer shades. You have from light all the way to dark smoky colors. So the light shade that you're going to use first is called your transition color, and choosing your transition color is dependent on your skin tone. So for fair skin, I would use either one of this light brown or this medium brown. If you're more medium toned, for me, I'm going to use this brown as the first color. Or if you're darker skin toned, I would go with something a little deeper. So the most important thing with smoky eyes is the blending brush. This is going to get that seamless blend. And this one is a large one, this one is a small. I would stick with large only to the transition color, because if you were to go in with the dark color, because it's so big, it might become too big of a mess. So I would stick with a smaller brush when you're using the darker shades in the crease. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we get started. And if you have smaller eyes, I wouldn't even use a bigger one. I would stick with this smaller one. So first things first, I already have my foundation done and my eyebrows done. And when I'm doing a smoky eye, I usually start with my eyes first and my foundation last, because sometimes eyeshadow can fall out and smear underneath your eyes. So if you do your foundation first, a little trick that I like to do is take a translucent powder, pack it underneath my eyes. And that way, if any eyeshadow falls down onto my cheeks here, then I'll just take a brush at the end, swipe it away, and then you won't have any smearing. So for the first step, we're going to prime the eyes. You can use foundation or concealer all over your lid and brow bone as a primer, so it gives something for your eyeshadow to stick to. Or you can use an actual primer. This is one by Morphe. It is the eyelid primer, and it gives your eyeshadow a 12-hour wear, and it's waterproof. So I'm going to show you an example of without primer and with primer on your hand. So an eyeshadow primer is really going to grip the shadow, make the colors look more vibrant, and it's going to stay and last all day. Because if you don't use a primer and you just put eyeshadow right on your bare skin, then it's going to fade off throughout the day. So this side has no primer. You can see it's a lighter color. This side is with the primer underneath. You can see that it's darker and it's more vibrant. And then if I take my hand and I wipe it off, you can see that this one fades off. When you take my hand, wipe this off, this one does not come off at all. So your eyeshadow will last a long time if you use a primer. So the first color that we're going to use from the Morphe palette is this medium toned warm brown, and we're going to use that right in the crease. I always start with the crease first, and I always use matte shades in the crease because that's going to give you the most depth and the most pigment. And then I stick with shimmer shadows on the lid to give that pop of color and brightness. So I'm starting at the outer corner of the eye, and you always want to start in this area because wherever you start the blending from is where you're going to have the most pigment. You never want to start from the inner corner or over here because you don't want the most pigment there. You want the majority of the pigment, the darkness of it, to be at the outer corner because you want it to lift your eye and open it up. If you have too much color in the inner corner here, it's going to close off your eye and it's going to make your eyes look closer together. So always start with here because you want the majority of pigment to be at the outer corner. And then you want to drag your brush into the inner corner with whatever's left over on the brush. And I always do either back and forth motions or slight circular motions. And when your crease is right in here, but if you have hooded eyes means that when you look straight, this fold here, the crease, it covers your eyelid and gives you less eye space. So if you have a hooded lid, which a lot of us do, you're going to want to take the eyeshadow above the crease, because if you don't, then it's not going to show up, and bringing it above the crease is going to open up your eyes and make them look bigger. So go in as needed, always tap off the excess, and then go in and blend, keeping it at the outer corner, and then lightly fading it to the inner corner. So this light color is going to give something for the darker color to blend into. And remember, you always want to keep your pressure light. If you have hard pressure, the harder the pressure, the harsher the blend will be. The lighter the pressure, the softer the blend. So if you find that you're using too much pressure, if your hand is too close to the brush, then you're more likely to give harder pressure. But if you find that you need to lighten up your pressure, put your hand at the tip of the brush, and that will give you softer pressure and a softer blend. So always do really light pressure. Another tip is if you want your eyes to look a little more elongated, just take the shadow and lightly blend it up towards your temple. Remember, keep the majority of color right in here, and then with whatever's left over on your brush is where you'll want to lightly bring out and fade into the inner corner. So I'm using the same brush, and in between colors, I just brush off the excess on a paper towel, and I'm going in with the darker shade. This is a dark warm brown, that one. And then after that, I will go in with the deeper tones to add the smokiness. Okay, going in with that darker shade, we're going to bring it below the transition color because you want to lightly blend it into it. So going right into the crease, slowly building up that color, back and forth motions, light pressure. Remember, always starting here and keeping it focused right in the crease at the outer corner, and then with whatever's left over on the brush, lightly fade it into the front of the eye. And it's always better to build up than to go in with a really dark color and then try to blend it out. And then with whatever's left over on the brush, again, sweep it out towards your temple. That step is done, so you can see that it fades from dark into the light transition color. And if you find that there's a harsh line or you're having trouble blending the darker into the light, you can take a clean brush, or you can just really wipe off the excess of this, making it clean, and then go in and then just lightly blend the two together. So this is usually my everyday eye, but I'm going to amp it up for you guys and add a darker, smokier color right in the outer corner. So now I'm going in with the last shade. You can use either this one or this one. I like this shade because it's a little bit more warm. And take the same brush, and you're really just gonna keep this focus in the outer corner, in the outer like C of the eye. So right in here, really light pressure, blending it into that last brown that we just used. You don't want to take it too high because you still want that gradient of dark, medium to light. And then with what's left over on the brush, you're going to sweep it into the middle of the crease. And then from this point, if you want it even darker or even smokier, you can go in with a black eyeshadow and blend it in right in here. But we're just going to stick with a brown smoky eye today. So lastly, on the lid, I'm going to go in with a shimmery tone. You can use any one of these really, but I'm going to keep it dark and smoky. So I'm going to use this middle plum shade. And I find with these shimmers, when you use a flat brush, you can get a bit of fallout. So I'm going to dampen my brush a little bit. That way it really sticks to the brush. And I find when you dampen your brush with shimmers, the shimmer goes on more vibrant. This is optional, but I do like this little trick. Oops. So I'm using a flat brush. And I'm going to use that translucent powder trick just because I find that I'm getting a little bit of fallout. So this is what you want to do if you find that you may get fallout. So just packing it on the lid and into the crease a little bit. You don't want to take it all the way to the end because you already have the brown there, but just a little bit blended into the brown. So I'm going in with the primer again, just to go right under the eyes because we're going to create the smoky effect under the eyes. So I'm just using a new clean brush. Anything small will do, just for under the eyes. And then we're going to go in with the middle brown shade we used with that same small shader brush. You can use either this one or this one, but I like this one because I find it a little better at blending. Just gonna go right under the eye. Remember, you want to keep this part light. You don't want it too dark in that area, so I just lightly fade it in. And then I'm going to take that same blending brush that we used. I'm wiping off the excess onto a paper towel. And then I'm using the lightest shade that we used, the light brown. Just going to blend out those edges. So it should fade from dark to light. And then we're going to go in with that tiny shader brush, in with the darkest brown that we used. I'm kind of dabbing off the excess. And then we're going right into the lash line. You want to keep it tight to the lash line. Focus more so middle to outer corner of the eye. If you put too much color into the center of the eye here, it can kind of make your eyes look more round. Whereas if you keep the color more focused at the outer corner, it's going to make it look more elongated. And then if you want to make it look more dark dramatic, you can add in black eyeliner in the waterline or black eyeshadow right into the lash line if you want it to look really smoky. So next we're going to do eyeliner. This is Morphe Gel Liner. To keep it sanitary, you're going to want to scoop it out with a spatula and then work from the spatula. And I'm going to use this eyeliner brush just to apply it, and then this little shader brush that I used earlier to smoke it out. You can use this to do a smoky liner or a winged liner. Today I'm going to keep it smoky just to add to that smoky eye effect. So I'm just coating it on my brush on both sides. And you're going to want to make sure to wipe off the excess on your hand so you don't have a big glob of eyeliner. And that way it makes the brush super sharp. And then for me, I'm going to start halfway and then bring it out and wing it out a little bit. I don't add too much color in here because remember, you always want to keep this front of the eye the lightest. And I always keep the eyeliner super thin in here, or sometimes I don't even add it right in here. So I'm just going to start from here out to the outer corner to give that more elongated cat eye effect. This doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be smudging it out anyways. But because this dries and it sets, you have a limited time to get in there and work it before it dries and sets in place. So before it dries, I'm going to take my little shader brush. I'm going to add a little bit of that eyeliner on there. And then we're going to buff out the edges and make it smoky. You can do a sharp eyeliner if you want, but I love a smoky liner. And then we're just going to wing it out a little bit. If you find that it's becoming too much, just take this brush, wipe off the excess on a paper towel. Starting the eyeliner from the inner corner to the outer corner, you can notice that this eye looks more sultry, more elongated, more almond shaped, more winged, and this side looks a little bit more round. So you can create illusion with eyeliner. So the final step for the eyes is lashes. Now this just elevates the look. I'm using my lash brand Pink Mink lashes. This is the style Self-Made. This is more of a winged shape. Now when you're applying lashes, when you buy lashes, the width of the lash is pretty long. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to cut the excess off to fit your eye shape. So I will show you how to do that. So I am taking the lash, you're gonna put it up to your eye, and then you're gonna see how much hangs off the edge. So I'm just putting it up to my eye, and you can see quite a bit hangs off. If you were to put this whole lash on your eye, it's just gonna make your eye look droopy. So you always wanna cut from the outer corner to fit your eye shape. So I'm gonna probably do about 1/2 centimeter. And then you're gonna cut it, put it back up to your eye shape, see if it fits. And then you can go ahead and apply the glue. So I'm cutting that little piece off, putting it up to my eye, and that looks like it fits well. And remember, when you're gluing it onto your eye, you never want to place it too close to the inner corner because it's just going to poke the inner corner of your eye and it's going to bother you all day. So when you're applying it, I bring it to about maybe like 1/2 centimeter in, so it's not right to the inner corner. Okay, so now that I have it fit to my eye, I'm going to take lash glue, and this is latex free. Sometimes you'll find latex glue, but if you have a latex allergy, you won't be able to use it, so it's best to just get latex free. And you're going to put on a thin amount onto the lash band. You don't want it to be too thin to where it dries too fast and doesn't stick to your eye, but you also don't want it too thick to where it's just going to be a glob on your eye. So you want to find that middle ground. And this glue, you're going to want to wait about 30 seconds for it to get tacky, because if you put it on too soon, it's just going to slide around your eye. It's going to make a big mess and it's not going to stick. But if you put it on too late, then it won't even stick at all. So it's definitely a learning curve with lashes and it takes practice, but once you get it, it'll only take you a few minutes. Now you can use your fingers to apply it, or if you can get tweezers or a little lash applicator, that will help a lot too. And when you're applying it on your eye, you don't want to put it on the whole thing all at once because that can get a little hard and overwhelming. I usually stick to the outer corner first, and then I pin down the middle, and then I pin down the inner corner last. So I work in sections to make it easier. Okay, so I'm going to apply it, focusing it on the outer corner. So now that that's on, you can see this one's still lifted. I'll pin down the middle, and then I'll go in. It's kind of hard because I have nails, so I'm going to use a lash applicator. And then pin down the inner corner. And then I use my finger to make sure it's pushed to the lash line. You want to get it as close to the lash line as possible. And then I like to use my finger and push up the end because I love the end to sit up a little bit higher. And I like this front of the lash to sit a little bit lower, so it creates that wing effect. So I push up the outer corner and then I push down the inner corner. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is you want to make sure if you have straight lashes, you're going to want to take a lash curler and curl them, because if you put a false lash over your straight lashes, that's going to create that gap, and then these lashes are going to show. So when you curl your lash is going to sit on top and be more lifted, and they're going to look married together. Now we're finishing up with mascara. You're going to keep it sanitary. You're going to want to use a mascara wand. Never double dip, just go in once. And then to blend your lashes with the falsies, just gonna go in and keep the mascara focused on where your false lashes are. You don't want to put mascara on the tips of your lashes because then it can look too much. So just at the root to blend the lashes together. And then I always love doing the bottom lashes too. So this is the final look. It's a neutral, warm tone smoky eye, not too light, but not too dark. And when I do a smoky eye, I prefer to do a light neutral lip with the look so it doesn't overpower the eyes. And I chose to keep it monochromatic, meaning the same undertones for each, the blush, the lipstick, and the eyes. That way it all ties in together. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a blast with Skills Canada, Alberta. You can find me on Instagram and on TikTok at StarlyGladu and on Facebook at Makeup by Starly. I hope you learned a lot today and have fun playing with makeup. Remember, there are no rules to makeup, there's only guidelines. Have fun, play around, and I hope you take these tips and tricks and incorporate it into your makeup routine. Thank you.